Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So.
Okay, so who do you guys think spoke the most throughout the entire like scene at the just the sun?
Definitely.
Danforth.
Yeah,
he
to say,
talks
yeah.
quite a
He
bit.
talks a lot.
He didn't talk too often for the Giles, but he had more to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to close the door?
It doesn't matter.
And so I agree with you. He doesn't like interject a lot, but when he does, it's definitely like he has a lot to say.
Slang thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of his title, you know, and the fact that he's also like the judge for the entire trial.
Yeah, which he was a little rude. Like,
Yeah.
His character in general was rude.
Yeah. And then I definitely think that Giles also has a lot to say, but that's because so much is like on the line for him.
Right.
It's like either his life or like
It's only his third wife.
Only his third.
He's an old man at this point. This will be his last one. He's still old as a fourth.
Yeah. So
He was definitely like desperate to try to prove
Yeah.
innocence, but he didn't want to say the guy's name. Either that could have like saved him.
Yeah.
Why do you think he didn't like say his name? I mean, it would have saved his life.
Because
Would've saved
Corey
his
is
life.
honorable.
yeah.
He's a good man.
He's not a
He's not gonna
snitch.
screw over someone.
Yeah.
After all, we saw what happens. Like the scene before, we see what happens to Putnam's
Yeah.
friends. Not Putnam's,
Yeah.
Proctor's friends.
That's how it was working. Like if you didn't accuse somebody else, you died.
Yeah.
So it definitely came down to honor.
It was kind
I
of
wonder what
weird
that
though
was.
because like in I don't remember what scene it was, but Tituba like completely just kind of was like, yeah, no, I did. Like she admitted fault to everything, and they let her go, but
Yeah.
they didn't let like Giles Corey go, who was completely innocent. I just thought
He
that
was in contempt of court.
Right.
Tituba wasn't on trial.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Yeah, that was crazy. I mean,
yeah. And then who do you like? Just to kind of guide the conversation, who do we think like maybe Giles Corey symbolized in like the actual like McCarthyism age?
Well, there was one woman that we just got a thing from. She was like exactly like him.
Yeah.
What's her name? Lillian Hellman.
Yeah.
They did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Danforth is walk. Or HUAC, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
Because Danforth's like, what was the exact line? I had it up. It was, someone speak. So we maintain a conversation. Someone speak.
Okay, we can go to the next question.
Yeah.
The contribution each speaker makes. We kind of touched on that a little bit,
Wait,
but
is this for like, is this the rubric?
this is kind of just a
For the-
guide on the
Yeah,
conversation.
just to guide us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She also wants us to talk about how like it relates to.
Yeah.
That's what-
But you
Yeah.
did, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Who interrupts and gets interrupted? Definitely. I mean, I think Danforth was interrupting him a lot because he's kind of just like, I don't care what you're saying. Like, where's your proof? Which is really
Yeah.
ironic to me because none of them really had
Any like legitimate.
legit proof
Yeah.
that it was like witches, which is, I don't know what type of proof would he provide.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
I
enough proof for me.
this, yeah, I definitely feel like all of those put on trial were also like interjecting a lot and like cutting others off because like again it was either their lives or like something worse.
Well, on page 515, Mr. Paris starts to talk and he's like, I should like the question, and then Danforth cuts him off saying, Mr. Paris, I bid you be silent.
Yeah.
So he
I
just
feel like-
completely shuts him down.
Yeah, I feel like Danforth definitely
Controlled everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like kind of let his title of like
He was
Governor.
the judge.
yeah, governor and
Mhm.
judge. I kind of think that let him to control like everything.
He was
Kind of-
almost like prideful of everything he was doing.
Yeah.
I think he said it somewhere where he's just like, oh, well, I was all these
Perfect.
people,
Now
arrested
the
all
fear
of
in
these
this
people.
country.
and-
There is fear in this country
Yeah.
because there's a movie plot to topple Christ in the country.
He's like, he's controlling everything. He's super prideful of everything. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, even in like going off of what Jack was saying with his quote, I definitely think that Danforth was like very controlling in everything because the stage directions, like Miss Simmons said, like kind of tell more about the character than their like dialogue and stuff. And it even says in here on page 515, right under where he said, "Mr. Paris, I bid you be silent." Danforth's stage directions are he stands in silence looking out the window, now having established that he will set the gate. So, like...
Also
Okay.
with the, let me just put this in very quickly on the topic of who's interrupted, also interrupting and interruptive, also on page 517, on the entire left-hand side between the conversation of Danforth, Proctor, and Paris, and also Mary Warren. Danforth is also very interruptive with his conversation with Proctor. As you can see, it starts probably halfway down the page with Paris. Excellency, since I come to Salem, this man has blackening my name. Danforth interrupts, Mary Warren starts speaking, Proctor interrupts, Paris starts speaking, and then it's just a continuous chain of interruption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Okay, we have to look at what is Danforth representing. What is he trying to do? He's trying to maintain his power. Like, you look at McCarthy. What is he trying to do? He's trying to maintain his power.
Yeah.
If both of them turn out to be crazy, executing people for no reason, then they lose all their power. He has to be this way to maintain his position.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, he's going to end up losing governorship in all respects.
Yeah. I also feel like, going off of what you were saying, I definitely think that if he's like called out for being wrong, I feel like that's part of why they had to like convict so many people, was because like if he was proven wrong in any way, like his entire like authority would be questioned. And I mean,
At the same time,
Yeah.
At the same time, I view it as most people, or as it seems like, what I see it as is like these people, like Giles and whatnot, they're not more of like standing up to him. They're more of just playing defensive, trying to prove that they're not doing anything wrong. So I still see that they view him as like a powerful person that can probably make or break their life, but at the same time, they're trying to stay nonchalant under the radar, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like, I understand what both of you are saying.
Yeah.
And Danforth, he's trying to keep his powerful position, but like, I don't understand what his initial advantage was. Like before
Not
they
losing his
started,
position.
but his position wasn't in question before
It
Abigail and
kinda
them
is.
started.
But especially during this time with all these trials going on,
But before the trials,
Before
like
the-
why would he support like Abigail and all this
Well,
other stuff? Like that
think of
would
it
have
this
been.
way. He's been given unquestionable evidence that there are witches in Salem. And if he doesn't do anything about it,
Yeah,
then people are going to
yeah.
say,
Witches are roaming
why aren't you
around.
getting rid of the witches in Salem?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
I
kind of like
understand.
either way he loses his
Yeah, exactly.
power. How do you think like maybe the tone of all of the characters kind of affects the entirety of the plot throughout like this specific scene?
I mean, you can tell everyone is like hysterical and they're
Yeah.
trying to prove their point and prove their innocence, and everybody just feels like I'm running out of time.
It
And
feels exciting.
it was just desperation. It was just
Yeah, I definitely feel like it almost speeds up the play, like
Definitely.
like especially like in the beginning where it's like kind of boring, and then like
Super
towards the
slow.
end, like I mean
It was
not
very
boring, it's
slow.
just slow. So then
Yeah.
it's like this kind of just speeds up like the end of the story.
I feel like it
Just
also
like
at the
the
same time puts the reader on the edge of their seats in
Yeah.
a way, because with all these accusations coming around, people accusing left and right, you don't know who's going to be like persecuted and whatnot. And also with Danforth's his job is to persecute others.
Yeah.
So it puts him in a situation: do I give up someone else who might or might not be doing something that's not legal, or do I go down for it myself, even though I may or may not have done it?
What do you think Hawthorne's? I know he wasn't really like
Part of this scene
dominant.
very much, most of the
Yeah.
last scene.
But like even kind of on page 517, he comes back in and like who do you think he kind of symbolizes, like compared to like Danforth? Because Danforth is governor, but didn't they say in the beginning when they introduced Hawthorne that he was like almost in power, or was I thinking of
Was
somebody
he the one
else?
who was signing off on death warrants?
I think Hawthorne was mayor. I think Hawthorne was mayor. And then, no, Death Warrants was Putnam.
Yeah.
Because it was Putnam
Yeah,
had
you're right.
Putnam had a lot out on people.
Why?
And you can see that coming in now, where he's
Yeah.
accusing Giles' wife.
Yeah.
Mm.
Why didn't Mary Warren want to confess? Like,
She's-
what do you think her
She's
reasoning
scared.
was?
I mean,
Yeah.
Wait, but okay, I get that she's scared, and her and Abigail and Elizabeth were all out doing whatever in the field.
I mean, that's not she's scared of.
Forced.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't she be like killed if she admitted?
I just feel like she thinks she's gonna get killed either way.
I think she thinks Abigail's gonna kill her.
She's gonna get killed either way. Like,
Yeah.
I was starting to be her.
I mean,
Yeah.
The other.
Mm-hmm.
this is something that like I can't say for a fact. I think the girls in this conversation will be better suited
Okay.
for this. But I've been told from many sources that like social ostracization for a female is much different for much scarier prospect for a male. And that is something that Mary is facing in this situation. She's gonna be completely outcasted by her friends if she tries this, and will probably be killed for it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I feel like it kind of destroys like her image, I guess, in the town, because she's pretty young. I mean, didn't they write her as like a 19-year-old or something?
That's
Yeah. So, wouldn't that kind of just like destroy your chances of ever getting married, like ever having a life outside of this?
Yeah.
I think that's part of why she's so scared, because like then like this one little thing could like destroy her for the rest of her life.
Right, but do you think it would have been different if this exact same character was written as a male? Because I don't know if like gender would have played a role. I think anybody in that situation would have.
Yeah.
I think it would have played a role in like how other people view them, because for example, if it's like a respectful man and whatnot, like say it was someone else like Danforth or someone who was accused of like that, people probably wouldn't be like, they were probably like, oh, he did all this stuff and that, but at the same time he would have some slight respect because he was in power for all this time.
Mary wasn't being accused; she was accusing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it kind of puts her on in the hot seat, because like if she accuses Abigail, then she like ousts all of her friends, so then like she's ostracized essentially from her entire like group, you know?
Yeah.
And so then I also think that I feel like Elizabeth is also like, you could compare her to Mary Warren, and it's not because like she's the accuser and like the accusee or whatever, but I think it's more because like they were both women. She was yeah, so I feel like because of her age, I don't think that necessarily matters, because they still saw her as like a witch, like this terrible person, and she never gave them any reason to think that. So I just think like I definitely feel like it's also based off of like sexism within the society, because had anybody accused like a male, notice how like all of the people accused except for Giles was a woman. So I definitely feel like because of that, like it was a lot of sexism, like, well, men are up here and like women are down here, so if somebody were to
Sherlock's trying to call us witches.
I definitely think it was different it was easier to accuse a woman than it was to accuse a man.
There's no education there and stuff, you know? And then I also feel like women were also they've always been viewed as less than, and like back then especially. So I definitely think that like because of that, I feel like that's why they didn't accuse anybody but Giles, you know?
I feel like also a part of why women were accused more than men, especially back then, is also because of like gender roles and whatnot, because in that time men were seeing out as like having to do most of the stuff outside, like, and also protect. So I guess most people wouldn't see it as like a man wanting to become like a witch or warlock. And so, but women, most of the time they stayed at home, took care of children. So I guess people would see that as, oh, they had more time to be, participating in these acts and whatnot.
My thing is I feel like they also viewed women back then as like disposable, because like Giles had like his third wife or whatever, so it was like it didn't matter.
They probably died.
They were disposable.
But it was like you could get rid of them easier because they didn't have such a like high role in society, you know? Whereas like Danforth was up here, and then it was like Elizabeth was married to a guy like John Proctor, not Elizabeth. Elizabeth? Yeah. She was married to Proctor, so it was like, I feel like because Proctor was less than, she was viewed as like less than, you know? Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why are we comparing a farmer's wife to the head of like a township?
Well, I'm just saying, if he were to be accused, because didn't they
You're
went from like...
You can't accuse Danforth, he's the one controlling all this.
Maybe.
Like, you can't accuse Danforth, you can't accuse Abigail, you can't really accuse any of those girls.
Well,
I mean, you can,
but
it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
You can, but it's not gonna go very well.
Like, Abigail was so, like, protected. I mean, to us from the outside, it's like this girl is clearly lying. Like, why are they believing her? But I mean, you have to think about it. Like, she was the one.
Yeah, like from their point of view.
And
yeah,
I mean, even like Miss Simmons said, like you have to look at it. They started at the bottom with the homeless woman, and then like
they
eventually,
made their way up.
yeah. So it's like no matter how high up you were in society as a woman, like you were still going to be accused.
Also, women were the threats. They were the threats in the society. They were the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Men were supposed to protect themselves from women.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's what it says in the book.
Yeah.
That's what it literally says. So of course they're gonna be accusing women because women are the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just like I'm just struggling to see their point of view. Like, when was it gonna be enough is enough? We've accused this many people,
Yeah.
and this is all stemming from this one girl.
You
Like,
never
why
get
are we
enough.
not?
You'll never find enough. That's
That's
the thing. There
it's
is never
ridiculous.
enough.
I mean, you're gonna kill everyone. You're gonna kill off all these people because of this one girl and her posse of
Exactly.
friends. It's like, what are y'all seeing that
Yeah.
would make you wanna?
It's, with this kind of society, with what's going on at that time, it's never enough. You have to stop it. You have to speak out against what they're doing, or you have to keep on doing it until everyone dies. There's no in between. You have to either stop. You have to nip it at the bud, or you're gonna have to watch your flower bloom and burn.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
Who influenced the agenda and controls the logic? I definitely think we talked about Dan Ford who's
Yeah.
controlling everything. From the logical perspective, I don't see any logic in any of this, but he did try to say, hey, like, where's the proof?
Yeah.
They wanted names
Yeah.
as proof,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just not.
I mean, for this one, his proof was the naming of the witness,
Yeah.
because like you should name your the only reason he didn't name his witness was to protect him, which is nice. But to validate things, you should have like names, because if you're saying my trusted source,
I agree.
that you have to be relying on the person's name, and in this day and age, that day and age, sorry, no one can be trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like think about it. Like, he names somebody and then they get brought in and they get convicted.
Well,
So he's scared to like name.
Yeah.
He's
Like,
scared,
he doesn't want to kill
He
anyone.
doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't want blood on his hands, and I wouldn't either. So
Yeah.
At the same time, I think someone who doesn't really control the logic, but like gives a little like hint of like to make people think, is also Hawthorne at the same time. Even though he wasn't in this scene as much as the other characters, but he does ask some like vital questions, like on page 517, when he was talking to it was Danforth and Mary, and then he said, and yet when people accused of witchery confronted you in court, you would feign saying their spirits came out and their bodies choked you. Mary interrupted, and then he proceeded to say, then can she pretend to faint now? So that also like planted a seed of if like is this actually happening, or is this being made up at the same time? So I guess I don't know if they completely caught on to it, but he was asking some pretty vital questions.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Dang it! I forgot like my train of thought. Okay.
I just find that to be a funny scene, because you rate it makes sense, because
Yeah.
so this is them seeing the Danforth. This is what I mentioned Danforth saying. So what you're telling me is that your reasoning for why this is fake is your evidence is from someone whose name you're defaming.
Yeah.
So you want us to trust someone that you are saying we can't trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely.
It's fine. I agree with you in terms of logic, but like, let's think about it. Like, they're not being logical either. Nobody here is being logical. And I mean, he put up a pretty good accusation. I mean, it makes sense that they would have to forfeit up their property if they got accused. I mean, it's something they could have at least looked into, but he was just like, oh, I'm going to accuse you of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like with Giles not sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Being able to name his like witness or accuser, whichever.
Witness.
Yeah, witness. I feel like that comes back to definitely bite him in the butt, because like he goes from being this like, I guess, non-accused man to them being like, oh, you're essentially with the witches, like we're gonna kill you.
You got stoned.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or you got crushed by a stone.
Yeah. Piled it on top of him and just crushed him.
So let me just get.
I mean, they didn't mean
so
it.
because he didn't, so because he wouldn't say a witness, he got stoned to death. If you didn't confess, then you got hung.
Yeah.
But if you did confess to your crime, then
Essentially, like, you die either way.
Yeah.
so they were like the people who they confess, they just stay in jail and
Mhm.
get out. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess eventually killed.
that's so.
Well, no, the thing is, if
backwards.
they confess, they're showing remorse, but their way of confessing was to like
Name other
accuse
people.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like, it wasn't just me, it was also these people too.
yeah,
Why do you think that they confess, like, even if they were innocent, why do you think that they confess to something that they obviously weren't guilty of?
their life.
To try to
Yeah.
get out of
They
it.
said
Yeah, 'cause they didn't
no
want
one
to
was
die.
no one-
Like, okay, if you had a choice, like either tell the truth and possibly die, or lie and get out of it, I'd lie any.
But if
Time of
you
the day.
lied and you're still stuck in it.
But I
But
feel
you
like
would be
there's
alive,
no
yeah.
way for them. There's no way out of it in the first place.
Yeah.
If you get accused, they're not going to be like. The only way I guess you're proof like that's what's it called, that they realize that you didn't do it is if like some valid evidence was shown that you. But
Yeah.
back then there was no valid evidence to really save anybody. So it's either you confessed and just lived your life in jail, or you just denied it and they.
Yeah.
then
No,
they
It's
killed
almost
you.
like the. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
So
No, you can
okay,
go.
I know. Okay, but this was like a Puritan society. They're high in religion. They believe in
Yeah.
God and all this other stuff. And if you know, like God is going to see everything you do and everything like that. So it's almost like, okay, are you really religious then? Because
Yeah.
now you're confessing, you're knowingly lying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like man versus like God. Like who-
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me how you can be so religious and upright and say like I want to go to heaven, and you know that God sees all things,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still gonna lie in order to portray yourself as if you're all holy.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think the only reason the witch trials really took place is because I forgot how exactly the verse went. I can't remember if it was in this or one of the other things we read, but it was like the Bible, like
Yeah,
they
it spoke
interpreted
of
it spoke of witches. So
Mhm.
either there were no witches or God lied, and then being the Puritan society that was taking place, they're not gonna believe that God lied
Yeah.
because it's God
Exactly.
Almighty and
Mhm.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna believe that there are witches. So if they're not finding any witches, that means God lied. So the only way to like validate the Bible is to find witches
Pretend
and kill
that you're a
them.
witch.
Yeah. Okay, so then, I kind of feel like this relates to the like 1950s, like the McCarthyism, because like going back to when we were talking about the evidence or whatever, like none of them had solid evidence, so they just like
Right.
constantly go back and be like, oh yeah, like what Lucille Ball, right? She was accused, wasn't she? Or she was brought in, I know that. But like didn't most of them get out because they're like, well, I'm not a communist, but like these people are.
Their question.
Mhm.
Yeah.
for sure.
So
But like,
We're
do
at
you-
25 minutes.
Oh, we're at
Well, we need to like edit stuff. Too.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
that.
I just say we like talk until
We should go back.
35.
I
Yeah.
get you. So, do you think that it's almost like, you know, the phrase where it's people like, oh, you lie so much that you start to like.
I will say this is somebody who's listening into your conversation.
No, it's just-
I need to speak more.
Okay.
Okay, so to you, do you think that, like, you know, the phrase, oh, people lie so much that they start to believe their lie? Like, you're living in this lie. Do you think that people actually started to believe that they were being possessed, or there were witches, or people's spirit was being sent out on them? Like, do you think just
I
the
mean-
era of hysteria that they started to, like,
I mean-
actually believe it was happening?
I mean, if you tell
Mary
someone,
Warren, I mean, she was pretty.
yeah, I mean, if you tell someone something enough times, they'll start to believe it. So
I think on the flip side of that, not only did possibly the people who were being accused believe that they were actually being witches, but the people who were like persecuting them, they probably most likely believe that witches are real because that's been fed in through their heads so many times. Like there
Mhm.
are witches on this earth, and our job is to find them and kill them. So therefore, they're going to continue like throughout their life. They're going to believe witches are real, and I need to find them and destroy them.
yeah, they're just gonna keep on convicting people. They're blaming them for it.
They were saying in the text like earlier, I don't remember. No, it was earlier. It was earlier when he's like, "Oh, I've seen people before my eyes get choked by spirits," or like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mary Warren's fainting, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I see this." Like,
Yeah.
do they actually? Is everybody just lying, or do they actually think that they're seeing something?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like going off of page 514, Proctor says, talking about, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Mary or Abigail.
It
He
was one
says-
of the girls from
yeah.
the beginning.
He says, she swears now that she never saw Satan or any spirit, vague or clear, that Satan, may have been sent to her, and she declares her friends are lying now. So it's like, I feel like the guilt from seeing like everybody being convicted and stuff, and even Elizabeth, like she was pregnant, and they were like, oh well, like we can't hang you now.
Yeah.
I feel like that definitely plays a role in them like kind of backing off, you know?
I guess I also see, going back to the if they believe it or whatnot and whatnot, I think some of them do at the same time, because it seems like they're just playing, it seems like to be a game of if, like, who can get accused and who can get out of being accused and whatnot. It's like just a back and forth game. It's like shown on like page 516 and 517, like between Danforth, Proctor, and Paris at the bottom of 516 and top of 517. Danforth is like, this child will murder your wife. Proctor says, it is not a child. Now hear me, sir. In the sight of congregation, she were twice this year put out of this meeting house for laughter during prayer. Danforth says, what's this? Laughter during an in Paris interrupts excellency. She were under Tituba's power at the time, but she is solemn now. So Paris is kind of like, what's it called? Neutralizing the situation. And at the same time, also getting out of the hot seat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just passing
But
the.
trying to make things hard too. He's with Danforth and Hathorn.
Yeah. Do you think that like they kind of equate everything going wrong right now to like in the story to like Tituba, or do you think it's kind of like everybody's fault?
I think it started with Tituba.
Yeah, she started the whole thing.
Mhm.
So.
I'm blaming Abigail for this.
Abigail, like, I definitely think it was Abigail. Not
Yeah.
Tituba.
And she,
Tituba was a
Yeah.
victim
Tituba was
too.
probably just,
she just kind of.
They were just looking for people.
Yeah.
If it wasn't
So
for
then-
Abigail, there'd be like 3 people executed instead of
Yeah.
like, what, 50?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you said something about her. Didn't we? I swear we just read it about her going back to like finding Satan. Or no, that was at the end. Her
Right.
Tituba
No.
and Mercy, I think if I remember correctly, they escaped, and Tituba said that she was going back to Satan or something like that. So I think she was.
a real witch.
She was a girl.
Yeah.
But I feel like because like we were talking about before, like you say so many lies until like, or you say the same lie until you believe it yourself.
Yeah.
I think like she definitely kind of played into it, not only to like kind of get herself out of it, but then I think at one point like she actually started believing it.
Yeah.
I also think that could be used as like what's it called, like mocking them,
Yeah.
because they were accusing her so heavily with being a witch and whatnot.
Mhm.
So when she was able to escape, she was like if they were to ask her, oh, where are you going? She's like, I'm going back to Satan.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
to be fair, she did say she was able to commune with the dead, so.
Yeah, she probably started.
I mean, not commune with the dead, give a curse. Yeah, she did claim she was able to give curses and stuff, so.
She's wild.
She might actually
wild.
think
Kind
she
of sucks, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But I definitely see, just going back to earlier in our conversation to wrap things up, I definitely see a direct correlation between like Danforth and McCarthy for power and taking advantage of the hysteria that's going on.
Yeah.
Because even here, when on page 513, when Jaws was saying, I can't give you a name and all this other stuff, and Danforth is like, well, I'm going to arrest you for contempt in the court, and Jaws said, this is a hearing, you cannot clap me for contempt of the hearing. Which is true, that's the law, but I mean, during this time, they're kind of just like, a law doesn't matter, because this is an emergency or a situation.
Well, he said, like, okay, then this is a court now. You're
This is
arrested.
the court now, like, you're
Yeah.
arrested,
like-
like, he's just able to bend the rules and like make his own decisions
Yeah.
because of everything that was going on, which is the same thing that McCarthy did.
Yeah. I feel like both men used the the threat of danger, to kind of make it so that they were like stronger, like they had more say in it than
Anybody else,
Yeah.
for sure.
Harris and Danforth.
Oh,
Like, which two?
Harris played off of everything
Well,
to
yeah.
protect his
Yeah.
name.
But definitely like Danforth and McCarthy. I
Oh,
think that
okay.
there's- Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think you guys
Power.
play. Okay,
No.
I understand.
Yeah, Harris for sure. Just did everything to protect his name. Because at the beginning, he was the one that people were looking at like, I don't know about
Yeah.
his position.
And he was like, "Don't say anything."
Right, because this is gonna look bad on me. But as soon as the
Say
situation
everything.
turned over and Abigail was able to, he
Yeah.
was all for it, blaming
Mhm.
people, witchcraft. He was all
Yeah.
for it because now he wasn't the person in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't getting looked at, so he was like,
Just like that.